I honestly don't know. It's just something that is completely different. It's a heavy machine that shouldn't be able to fly, but it does because, well, we trick it with some science and engineering stuff. But I love planes. I love anything that moves in the air. I can sit back and watch birds and be pretty content. But it's something about it that it shouldn't happen, but it does. And I can't do it, so it fascinates me. The dark desert sky is very symbolic to a lot of people in aerospace, especially defense, because essentially you're doing things that you don't want people to see. You're hiding this brand new alien technology, and maybe it'll come out a year from now, 30 years from now, who knows? And once it comes out, you can be like, hey, I had a piece in this pie right here, and it was pivotal. A lot of times I'm thinking about what else is up there that I don't know about, that I'm not read into, similar to what we do. They're making their own difference with their own objectives, and it's cool knowing that there's folks that are my age doing those things as well as people that have been in this industry for 40, 50 years. There's a lot of opportunities in the dark, but unfortunately we can't really talk too much about that.
I've always wanted to be an engineer, actually. That was my love. And I got to work on the space shuttle program, got to work with the International Space Station program. Those were exciting things. And when we got married, I got to share some launches with my wife. She actually got to join me to go to, for instance, to Cape Canaveral in Florida to go watch some of the launches. And so we got to share those kinds of things, and they were exciting.
Well, I was never exposed to anything like that because I grew up in a little small town, all rural, agricultural. So when I met him, it was pretty fascinating. I think when we got married, we started making trips that always included a museum of some sort in flight. And we didn't have kids yet, but once we did, then this guy here got pretty interested in right off the bat, you know, he was excited, you know, about just seeing airplanes. And just we had a little playroom, and it was, because I'm a school teacher, you know, I'm an educator, I make sure that this room had all kinds of different gadgets in there, books, definitely. And you guys would sit there and would be endless working there. You were focused.
Didn't we go and see a launch?
Yeah, we did.
We went to go see the last shuttle launch.
We would get up really early.
The last shuttle launch that we had.
Yeah.
And
what year was that?
Gosh, I don't remember.
5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. The final liftoff of Atlantis on the shoulders of the space shuttle. America will continue the dream.
Program Houston. Roger roll, Atlantis.
As a kid, I was first introduced to engineering by my father. His love for engineering and aerospace and all things defense drove that kind of inspiration into me to put up with the hard curriculum, the long days, and continue on because I knew that's really what I wanted to do, and I'm so thankful I stuck with it. Fresno State first got on my radar because away from home allowed me to be independent and learn, but still close enough where I wasn't going to get homesick. At the time, Fresno State did not have an aerospace engineering degree, and I had to do extra research to understand, okay, if I wasn't going to do aerospace engineering, what's the second best thing? And I found mechanical engineering.
It's very rewarding to hear students' success, and so I think it's what every faculty was striving for at Fresno State.
Professor Deify Law was one that I worked with quite closely for a majority of my years at Fresno State. Very early on, I told him, hey, I'm a mechanical engineer here, yes, but I want to go aero. From excelling in his classes, he happily took me in for his research projects and his graduate level course.
Computational fluid dynamics. Yeah, that class is rigorous, but also important to learn. Again, it prepares students for the real world and as well as for research. Yeah.
All that was pretty critical. I think that helped me in my job, helped me my graduate studies now.
Okay.
and just gave me the fundamental to do really well. Because the quick to learn thing is just really about experience, and you gave me the experience to understand things a lot quicker on the job, and that's all it is. The main connections you want to make are with your professors. They're the ones that have their hands in industry money, their hands with people in industry that are looking for new students to poach. And if you can't make that relationship with them, as many students can, when your class is like 100 students to one professor, you're going to be out of luck. As opposed to at Fresno State, the class size was a lot smaller. I was able to get that one-on-one with professors really easy.
We can strive to cover everything in the classroom setting, but there's only so much we can do, right? So definitely encourage students to get internship. So the aerospace company, if they can hire interns from Fresno State, that would be definitely helpful.
Yeah, getting the Fresno State name out there, competing with the Harvards, the Penn States, by all means, we're right up there. Early into my junior year, I applied for the Department of Defense Test Resource Management Center STEM initiative. That was my first internship I actually got accepted to. I got picked to be an underwater warfare engineer at the Pacific Missile Range facility in Hawaii. I had no idea what underwater warfare was. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. Plain and simple, those engineering fundamentals that I learned at Fresno State allowed me to grasp a lot of the concepts a lot easier. So it was pretty cool because I got a bridge this boring concept that I learned in class to, oh wow, it's actually being used. We actually do use this stuff in real life. After that internship, I went back to school for a year and applied to other internships, and I got selected for Northrop Grumman as a vehicle design engineer. After my internship, I ended up getting hired on as a system test engineer, which I still do. And I'm technically still training. You're always training for something because, that's the goal. You always want to be learning something new. And so that's what I really love about my job, because the sky's the limit. We're looking at a NASA 747 in the configuration of an air release for the space shuttle. It's pretty remarkable seeing a plane of this size up close. I've personally never been next to a 747 and looked right up at it. It's insane. People that have these crazy out-of-the-box ideas, these are engineers that they're worth every penny. They ensure that safety is paramount and their integrity is not to be questioned, not to mention their intelligence, that's for sure. Yeah, those are the guys and girls that I look up to. That's why I want to be an engineer. I want to be a part of it.
Fresno State gave him opportunities to get into internships, to get the technical skills and knowledge so that he can apply that. Not only the leadership, the coordination, the problem solving, and all those kinds of things, but he has the social skills as well. And so in the field, he's going to do well because that's what we want. Engineering itself is just one amazing area to be in. The projects that we get challenged with, either as a nation or as a human species, we're always there for the challenge. We're trying to do our best. We may not always be successful, but it kind of forms who you are and how well you participated in something that means something big to not just the nation, but maybe the world.
Oh my goodness.
Thanks,
Pretty amazing.
Yes.
I'd say the appeal is the variation in the technology that they had, whether it be research and development or whether it be military application, whether it be commercial. It's a bunch of things that make all these crazy, weird variations that you see of planes back then and now, and how that trend is going. And if you extrapolate that, where are you going to be in 5-10 years? It just gets me more excited for the future.
That was it.
Oh, 2011.
2011.
Which
That was
one?
the last one we saw. That one right there.
Where
That's the one.
we
The
saw
final
it?
mission. He wasn't born when I was contributing to this program yet. So to see it grow, all these walls full of history and missions is pretty amazing. I caught that wall there. That's when he was born. So all this happened in his lifetime, but there was so much that happened prior to. So as we learned all these things, that we had all these different kinds of missions, now I can see the walls expanding for his generation. It's kind of amazing. It's kind of mind-boggling to think what's going to happen the next 10, 20, 40 years, but he'll be a part of that.
What unites us all is a passion to do what is right and continue to achieve great things against impossible odds. Being able to see that what I did with this thing is making a difference there. It keeps me hooked, and that's something that drives me every single day.